Nico.
Okay, so now this one is, we are doing practice to this Prinsesa ng Kuminta.
Okay.
To practice our hand movement. So, Kuminta is the circular movement of the wrist. Then, kabila naman. So what reminds you when you are doing this? Our folk dances.
Generally, folk dance.
Our folk dance, right? What reminds you when we do this movement?
Actually, most of the folk dances do have the same movement. For example, the Pinikling, they have also.
Yeah, that's this, right?
Before they proceed to the bamboo props, they move. They have the choreography.
They call this
and another.
And in the Batangas region, aside from Kumintang, they call this also Punday. There is also like this. Aside from there. And then the guys sometimes do it like this.
Oh yes, I know.
So now when I am Mili, one of our Homana, was doing this, so Millicent is doing a research on our dances, the origin of all this dance Kumintang. When I was starting this with Hula, and then I was doing Hula also to this songs of Mutya ng Pasig, diba? And then Mutya ng Pasig is a Kumintang. And so we did this research. I'm quite grateful to Millicent, because Millicent is the one who inspires me to be doing this. Although I've been doing this long time ago, But because of her, I got the courage of doing this and call it Saliw. Kasi yung Kumintang, kapag ginawa natin Kumintang, when we are doing Kumintang has no meaning. It's just having fun, doing your movements according to the rhythm of a particular song, which is Kumintang. And then later on, Kumintang becomes Kundiman. When the Spanish came, the Filipinos would like to improvise, innovate, in order to hide some of the meanings hidden in the Kumintang. Kasi double meaning yan. There's always a double meaning. So the hidden meaning is the message to the people. Now, in the lyrics of the Kundiman itself contains lyrics pertaining to one's love or adoration of a woman. Diba? Kagaya nito, Prinsesa ng Kumintang. Ang ganda-ganda ng lyrics diba? And the rhythm is dansa na. It's no longer the rhythm na. Dansa na to eh. Because that is the influence of the Spanish time. And yet, they call this Kumintang. Kaya, Prinsesa ng Kumintang. Now, when we practice it, we practice it with our hand movements, right? If we understand the lyrics of Kumintang, or especially this one, Prinsesa ng Kumintang, parang every movement will be telling something about the wordings, right? Check mo ha.
For eight.
Kay ganda mo, Ira. Prinsesa ng kumintang. Kahit na pare-pareho yung kamay mo, you are conveying the same meaning sa ala-ala.
Correct.
Di mapaparang. May tinindihan mo pa rin eh, di ba? Sa kalungkutan ko. Tanglaw ka ng aking buhay. Iyong pagsinta sana
Pare-pareho nga, no? But depende rin sa emotional obligation niya.
Oo. Nararamdaman mo yung emotions, di ba? Kapag sinasayaw ko to. And when it comes to hula, the hula is awana, no? So CJ, now this is Humana CJ. He is known as Humana Hello. And this one is Edwin. Okay. So
Hi,
we
Edwin,
are
nice
trying
meeting you.
to appreciate this kumintang, the
Okay.
Saliw. So why I came up with this Saliw? As I was saying, I have been doing this long time ago. But I was saying that before that it was hula. But now, I decided that we don't call it hula. Because there is much more beyond hula in what we are doing this. Because the music itself is not Hawaiian. The music itself comes from a Filipino tradition. The dance itself is not rooted from hula. The dance itself is rooted in kumintang. That's why we are doing this. This is kumintang. Look CJ, what's kumintang is all about. We'll dance it. Join us. The princess of kumintang.
You know, I'm not very good and flexible as
Okay,
as
for guys, you move your wrist like this. Yes, like that. And then we can do this like this. Isn't it that this one is found also in hula? But this is
Yes.
kumintang. And then as I was saying, even if you continuously doing the movement like this, it continuously tell the story of this song, which is Prinsesa ng Kumintang. Prinsesa ng Kumintang is like the princess of a kumintang, a song, a dance. So see, look, and you feel it. You are so beautiful, my love, my princess of kumintang. You're just doing just the same. And as far as I remember, I will never forget you.
You know, my questions to you, would that be the same hand finger movement for the male?
Okay, The finger movement for the male, sometimes you can just do it like this. Yes.
Because if you move too much, it can is I think it's like more feminine.
Yeah, this one is more feminine. You can just do it like this. As I was asking Edwin, I asked him, what do you remember about these movements? And Edwin told me it's the folk dances. Because in Philippine folk dances, this can be found not only in Kumintan but also in all folk dances of the Philippines. Because
Well, I think I remember that. Yeah.
this is a very basic movement in tinikling, doing tinikling, cariñosa.
Yes. Uh, so you mentioned about tinikling. In fact, I love that dance,
Yeah,
tinikling. I love that dance. It's so graceful, and
we
then I
always
would
have
like
this
to learn that
movement
dance.
because this movement is a foundation movement in all the folk dances in the Philippines. This is also
I see.
called kunday. Kunday.
That's beautiful.
Now, kumintang has no meaning in the folk dances, in the Philippines. But what is special in what we are doing is that we revitalize or have a rebirth of this, a renaissance of a culture, a song, dances, rhythm that has long been forgotten, and which even young people from now are not doing it. But the one who inspires me doing this is a young person, Millicent Arhaumana. And Milan is only 24 or 25. She's very young. And she's very enthusiastic, especially when she was doing this. And now she is studying Mutya ng Pasig. And she did a lot of contribution in Arhalao by doing a research on the Mutya ng Pasig.
Actually, I was about to ask you that question, but you already
Yes.
answered.
Ask me, what's your
Actually,
question?
what my question was, I think you already answered. What inspired you to do this, Saliv?
Sally, what
And you already
inspired
answered
me?
that. Yes,
Well,
and you already did that.
the start is with Hula. I think my devotion to Hula, how Hula was able to transform me. But sometimes it is so difficult to express myself in a language and in a culture that is quite foreign to me. It's not the language, it's not the culture where I came from, because I am a Filipino, I came from the Philippines, and then when I started to dance hula to the song of Mutya ng Pasig, to the song of Sampagita, and to some of our religious songs like Sayo Lamang, it evokes the same passion.
Right.
So with hula, I was able to express myself and to tell people who I am, and also for me to experience what is being told in that song. Sometimes,
Okay.
especially for Filipinos, us Filipinos, we would like to express ourselves by singing. But sometimes in dancing, it's difficult for us to express ourselves.
Right.
But hula was able to teach me how to be doing that. The first time I was doing this in Filipino songs, I called it hula. But then later on, as when I studied what this is all about, it's not just hula. Because when I discovered about the kumintang, I find it more expressive on my part to be doing more of the kumintang. But this happens only when I started to be confident in moving my hands. Because in hula, they have these hula hands. But hula hands is usually done by women. But in kumintang, the movements of the hand movements is not only limited to women because even men are doing it like this. But the
That's
origin of that is the kunday, the kumintang. They call it kunday, sometimes they call it kumintang. And this movement can be found in the Visayas and also can be found in Luzon, especially in the Tagalog region. So then I started calling this Saliw when I and Milan were talking about this. And also it's because some Hawaiian kumu, you know, they were telling us um it's not Hawaiian. So you better call it something else. And starting from that point that I reflected on that, which is good because if we look at what we are doing as Hawaiian, as Hula, then we have to bring in all the elements, all the even the belief system of Hawaiian into what we are doing. And which is not right because the song itself has its own origin, has its own spirituality. It has its own, let's say, historical basis as well as spiritual basis. Like, for example, in Hawaiian, when you do hula, you cannot just do hula without proper instructions from a kumu, right?
Right.
And there is a belief that if you do hula without the proper instructions or just just do it for the sake of you like it and then present it to the public. There was a belief even long time ago that you will might be punished by the gods and the goddesses of Hawaii, right? Of Hawaiian gods and goddesses. That's why those who joined the Halau, they were dedicated under the protection of the goddess Laka. Simply because of that belief. But
Right.
in Filipino spirituality, it is not like that. The basis of Filipino spirituality, especially the indigenous Filipino spirituality, I believe, comes from what we are saying here as the mutya. So this is something being taught like at the Asian Social Institute, right? And there is also it is a dissertation done on this by Dr. Grace Otal and from UP. And there has been a lot of studies being done on this on the occult of the mutya. Mutya is sometimes related to what they call as the mutya ng Pasig. And then in this myth of the mutya ng Pasig, they were saying that there is this maiden that only appears in the old times by the river. But then this maiden later on disappears and never reappear again. In some stories, folk stories in the Tagalog region, especially along the Pasig River, they were saying that this lady is the one who protects them. That's why when doing the Saliw, I'm telling my Haumana, my students here doing the Saliw, that once you are doing this, suspend all your notion about hula. When you do Saliw, it's no longer hula because if we try to make it hula, then we have to be under the influence of the culture of the Hawaiians. But this one,
Right.
no. In Saliw, we need to bring in that consciousness of the stories of the Filipino ancestors. And this lies on who what was taught to us like the Mutia or maybe the stories of our heroes.
But one thing I like to mention that it is very good. I support this thing because you embrace the Filipino culture, you enhance it, you reintroduce to the public. So it's going to be like enriching the cultural, historical of not only the history but the culture of the Filipino people. And
Yeah.
I salute you for that.
And once you do this, suspend your imagination, suspend all,
Correct.
all your learnings. I'm not saying that you forget about what you learned about hula. You forget about what you learned about the gods and the goddesses of hula. What I'm saying is that that is from another culture, that is from another realm, right? Because once we do Saliw, we start to embrace who we are as Filipinos. When we suspend, it just means that all the presupposition, all the things that we believe in about another culture, we try to suspend it, phenomenology, di ba? Ganyan yung phenomenology eh, di ba?
Correct. Oo. Pero
Sa,
kung
well, we
kung
are
nasa
studying at Asian Social Institute. What?
correct. Kapag nasa Saliw na tayo, so definitely this is now considered a new form of dance.
It's
Hindi
already
na kasi
Filipino. So
correct.
we bring in now the Filipino mentality. No longer the mentality of Hula. We are not
Correct.
bringing in here the Hawaiian mentality. No more.
Correct.
Here we started to listen to the teachings of our Filipino ancestors. We started to listen to the teachings of Andres Bonifacio, to the teachings of Dolores Paterno, to the teachings of Jose Rizal, to the teachings of those ancestors that we may never know, but only told to us through generations. It's like rediscovering who we are. And then by Saliw, when we do Saliw, we are just doing the dance in order to tell stories to people and hopefully to the young generation so that they will know who the Mutya is. Di ba? Kasi marami tayong madidiscover mga awit. Mga awit na naitago ng panahon. Pero ngayon, dahil sa YouTube, we're able to bring them back to life.
So that's
Like for
correct.
example, this prinsesa ng Kumintang, who will be able to appreciate this if nobody will start to tell the story about this? Diba?
Correct.
Ngayon, siyempre
Hindi mo
tayo mga mananaya, we have the responsibility to show this to people. That's why we have TikTok, we are in the university, we are teaching, and then hopefully, yung mga nasa TikTok, especially the young people, they'll be able to tell this story so that hindi mamamatay yung kawarian natin tungkol sa ating lahi. Diba? Kasi ganito din naman ang ginawa ng mga Hawaiians eh.
Oh,
Awana is not a traditional hula. You know? Just like Kundiman is not a traditional Filipino song. Because Kundiman comes from Kumintang. Likewise, Awana, yung Awana sa hula. No? Yung Awana yung mga sinasayaw natin sa hula. Awana is not the traditional hula because the traditional hula, haa, is kahiko kung sa Hawaiian. You know?
so, oo nga. Yung kundiman din naman, contemporary na yan eh. Hindi na siya
Kundiman is
traditional.
contemporary. Yeah. And then pagkatapos, maraming ng forma siya. Kasi after Kundiman, lumabas na mga harana. Sa
Correct.
composition ng mga harana, nawala na yung makabayan. Nawala na yung double meaning. Di ba? Pero pagdating sa mga religious song, lalo na yung mga composition ng mga Jesuita, lumalabas na naman. Kumbaga, it's a lover song, but actually it's a song to God. Kaya yun yung ginagawa namin ni Humana Napo. So, one side of Saliw is the religious side, the ministerial. Before, I call it ministerial hula. Pero now, we will not call it ministerial hula. Kasi pag sinabi natin hula, then again, we come in again to the mentality, to the worldview, to the cosmology of the Hawaiians. Di ba? We want ourselves to be more fully rooted in our Filipino culture. Because it's only then that we will be able to discover who we are, not from a borrowed culture, but from our own culture. If we are doing hula, we are communicating their message, the messages of the Hawaiians. So we tell them the story of Hawaiians. Okay din yun. Kasi para bang we try to help them, for people to understand who they are. And marami na-attract sa Hawaiian dance, di ba? Because the message of hula is also universal. But always remember that when you dance a particular dance, it has its own structure, cognitive, affective, and it is rooted on a particular culture, di ba? And from that culture, hindi mo naman pwede sabihin, ito lang tatanggapin ko, di ba? That you will disregard Pele or disregard Poliahu or any other beliefs of the Hawaiians. Hindi dapat ganun. Likewise, ganun din sa atin. So sa atin naman, we have this mutya. But there is a marked difference between mutya and the Hawaiian deities o yung mga Hawaiian ancestors that they worship like Pele or Poliahu. And it lies on that belief from the mutya. Kasi the mutya was not a human being, you know. So the mutya is a spiritual being, kagad. Hindi siya ancestor, hindi siya ninuno. Hindi kagaya nila Pele and Poliahu na sila ay mga ancestors talaga ng mga Hawaiian. But in Filipino cosmology, the mutya, even si Maria Makiling or si Sinupuan, they were already goddesses, you know, mga ang tawag sa atin no, mga diwata. Mga diwata na sila talaga. Hindi sila nanggaling sa tao, hindi sila tao. Ganun. So they are spiritual beings, spirits that is trying to help people. Now, what are the qualities of this mutya? So, creative, di ba? Creative siya. And then, unobtrusive. Hindi mo siya pwedeng ikulong. The mutya is precious. Kaya nga mutya eh. Mutya is equivalent to gem. But in our mythology, they say, especially in the songs, the mythology is revealed through songs like the Mutya ng Pasig. Nawala siya. Diba? And then, this is one way of saying, nawala ang mutya kasi dahil dumating yung mga Kastila eh. Na iba na yung pananampalataya, na iba na ang paningin, na iba na ang paniniwala. Wala nang naniniwala ngayon dun sa Birhen na umaahon sa dagat.
Oo nga.
Ngayon, napalitan niya na sabi, okay, hindi, si Maria yan. Ganun. Kaya unti-unti, yung mutya, naging si Maria. Diba? Pero okay lang yun. Kaso lang, kailangan maintindihan natin kung ano yung mga natural elements, yung mga indigenous elements on who the mutya is. And this mutya is actually the spiritual being that is in us. Because the mutya herself says that when she disappears, she actually did not disappear, but she lies in our innermost being. And it is up to us that we show it and give it to the people. And that is what we are doing now when we do Saliw and in our life. So the mutya is a very creative force, a creative spirit. Hindi mo siya pwedeng diktahan. There is no rules, you know, kasi hindi naman siya nagdikta. Now, have a comparison with the Hawaiian mythology. Magkaiba. Pele is so destructive, so manipulative, gano'n, ano? So, kaya yung mga tao takot, di ba? Then, takot sila na ma-violate yung kapu. Diba? Kasi otherwise, if they violate the rules, something will happen to them. But with mutya, walang ganon. It might be influenced by what had happened to us in history because we have been subjugated. Diba? And so, by implication, that spirituality tries to hide in us and give us that strength and also encouraging us to assert ourselves, and which is what we are doing now. Okay? So, while repressive yung isang culture like sa Hula, sa Filipino naman, we're not that repressive. That is why when we do Saliw, we are not as strict like what they are doing in Hula. Kaya nga, pag ginawa natin yung Saliw, I would allow creativity from Haumana for you to be able to express yourself. Diba? So, ganun. Remember the time when we do Mutya ng Pasig? Diba? Compared dun sa sa hula na talagang kailangan exact yung bawat bagsak ng kamay mo. Kailangan maintindihan mo, di ba? Yung lyrics. Eh, syempre, kasi hindi naman natin lengguwahe yun. Mahirap intindihan. Pero sa lengguwahe natin, sa salita natin, madali natin maintindihan ng Tagalog. Diba? So, ayun lang. May tanong ka pa tungkol sa Saliw, minta.
Wala, ano lang, siguro clarification lang talaga. Kasi if we are doing now the Saliw, is this considered na traditional dance pa rin or hindi na siya traditional dance
Hindi na
form?
siya traditional dance kasi innovative na siya.
Oh,
Parang renaissance nga eh. Nandoon pa din yung element ng kumintang. Pero sinasabi natin na kumintang siya, ang tugtog ay traditional, kagaya nito. Yung prinsesa ng kumintang. Magmumukha siya ngayon traditional, di ba? Pero bagong sayaw. Kaya Saliw. Ang batayan siguro maaring tradisyonal. Kagaya ang batayan ay ang kumintang, ang batayan ay yung sayaw, ano? Pero may bago. Ano ang bago dito? Ang bago dito, what is new here is the telling of the story. Because we want the young people today to understand it, not to appreciate how beautiful the dance is. Look at our folk dances. They will love it. They will love the costume. But will they say to themselves, I want to sing this. I want to dance this. Hindi. Because these are dances of a long time forgotten era.
correct.
Sinauna na yan. Hindi nila makikilala yan na ito ang sayaw ngayon. Hindi nila gagawin yun. Hindi nila kakantahin yun. Kasi hindi nila nakikita na relevant yun sa ngayon. Relevant yun sa kanila sa pagpapaalala sa kanilang nakaraan. Pero hanggang doon lang. Pagpapaalala lang sa kanilang nakaraan, sa kanilang pinagkaugatan. Pero, yung puno, buhay pa ba? Di ba? Ngayon, what we are trying to do is like a replanting of our identity. Kaya nga, ang sabi ko, sa mga magsasaliw, suspend your notion and not to bring in your understanding of hula into Saliw. Because when we do Saliw, we started to dig into our culture. Look into our own stories. The stories of our own diwata. Diba? Look into the story of Santa Marta of Pasig. The story of the Mutya. Alam mo ba na there is a relationship between Santa Marta of Pasig and the Mutya? Alam mo ba yun? Hindi.
Along the way, aralin natin.
Controversial yan. Magagalit sa akin ng mga parishioners ng Santa Marta sa Pasig. Anyway, so kasi they find do you know that the statue of Santa Marta in Pasig was pre-Hispanic pa. Pre-colonial era pa yun. Bakit pre-colonial? Saan ka nakakita si Santa Marta na nakapatong sa buhaya?
Ako, hindi ko pa nakikita eh.
Oh, ayun. Yeah, this is a research done by Dr. Grace Haddad. And then, another story to make us understand how Filipino belief changes through time. We are not sure if the Mutya ng Pasig is the same goddess that was believed in 400 years ago. We're not sure. But I know this Mutya ng Pasig is what we believe now. Okay? In as much as Maria Makiling is not the same Makiling who was known 300 years ago or 400 years ago. The same thing as Maria Sinukuan. Maria Sinukuan was actually Apo Sinukuan before the coming of the Spanish. Lalaki. Maria Sinukuan was a male god before the coming of the Spaniards. And then later on, she evolved as Mariang Sinukuan. So she becomes feminine.
Oo nga. Alam ko nga sa mutya ng ano eh, may connection to sa ano eh, sa sirena eh.
Well, it's because there are stories that this mutya lives in the water. So, nandiyan
Mutya
yung
is also
concept nila na
sirena.
sirena, di ba?
Oo nga.
Mm. There's a lot of stories. That's why it's good that to listen to their stories. It doesn't mean naman na false yun. Pero ang ibig sabihin, there is some truth in that. Because the truth actually is in the consciousness of people. What is the
Pwede,
meaning of
pwede.
that sirena to them? Bakit sirena? Ano ba yung halaga ng sirena para sa kanila? Ano yung nagagawa ng sirena? Di ba?
Correct.
So, you know the story of Sinukuan and Makiling?
Hindi ko alam yung connection ng nilang dalawa kasi ang pagkakaalam ko, iba ang storya ni Mariang Sinukuan kay Maria Makiling.
Almost
Kasi I think
related.
they have
Maria Sinukuan is related to the mountain of Araya. Makiling is to the mountain of Makiling.
mo.
But
Makiling no.
there were stories like, for example, Maria Sinukuan, she tries to protect her people, and then especially she is a patron of the poor by living, ano ba to? She gave them food or abundance in the forest for them to enjoy. But then the same thing also with Maria Makiling. Maria Makiling tries to help her people, but then problem is later on the people abuse their kindness, the kindness of the diwata, the kindness of the goddesses, and because of that, nagtampo. So the goddess, the diwata, stop appearing to the
Kinurse
people.
nila. Okay.
And
Alam kinurse nila yung lugar.
the mutya also is the same. She was the goddess of the river. But there, when love disappears from the heart of the people, she disappears. She disappears. But then, her message is revealed in the Mutya ng Pasig when she say, she was once the princess, the Paraluman, from a kingdom of love. But then she disappears when love is gone. And when love is gone, the reign, the kingdom, vanished too. But she will never be banished. They may not see her, but her heart,
Wala.
her strength,
Lamig.
all her energy is transferred to the people. And it's up for the people to recognize that. And if the people wants her to live again, they have to bring out that love and share it with the people. And that one is creativity, you know. So,
Correct.
ano yung mga ginagawa niya? Sumasayaw siya. Sumasayaw tayo para ngayon ipaalam yung mensahe niya. And at the same time, in our lives, we practice it. When we sing, when we dance their song, we imbibe all the values. That's why it's very important that we suspend all our notion of any other culture, but
Correct. Oo nga.
embrace all these values that we learned from our songs, because these are songs that were taught to us, given to us by our ancestors. Like Prinsesa ng Kuwintang, like the Sampaguita, ni Dolores Paterno, si Jose Rizal pa nga. Yan yung ano niya paborito niya, di ba? Then also, ang daming mga kinocompose ngayon na mga tula ng ating mga bayani. These are stories being perpetuated through songs. But the problem is, this was never been felt by dancing it. Iba kasi ang dating kapag sinayaw mo siya eh. Pag sinayaw mo siya, you are able to imbibe all the emotions, all the learnings from that song. And at the same time, when you share it with to other people, then you're able to narrate to them the stories of our stories, di ba? The stories of our ancestors, the stories of our people. Ayun. Marami pa kasi mga matututunan tayo, discover natin. And when we discover this, we will discover this and we will be doing this side by side. Hindi lang manggagaling to sa akin at ipapasa ko sa inyo. Kundi tayo, sama-sama tayo. Kasi ganyan naman yung sabi din naman ng mutya eh. Pamahagi yung pagmamahal. So, magbabahaginan tayo. So, ngayon,
Sige.
i-recall natin yung teachings ni Mutya ng Pasig.
Sige.
Pakita natin sa kanila. Okay? So, meron tayo sinusunod, pero hayaan natin ang Mutya na siya mag-express sa ating mga kamay. Kung gabi, buwan sa langit ay nakadungaw. Ginigising sa kanyang pagtulog sa tubig. May isang larawan. Nalugay ako na parang ayos. Nasaan ang mutya ng Pasig? Ito ang mutya ng Pasig. Nasaan ang mutya ng Pasig? Ito ang mutya ng Pasig. At sa kanyang pagsayaw, sige, gana lang.
Sa kanyang pagsiklod sa mabuting mura,
Kasabay ang awit.
kasabay ang awit, kasabay ang ulan.
Sino siya? Dati siyang paralunan. Paralunan saan? Sa kaharian ng pag-ibig ay naglaho din ang kaharian. Ang lakas niya ay nalipat.
Title niyan, Mutya ng Pasig, no?
Mm-mm.
Dati akong maruluman. Naman, no?
Mm-mm.
Kasi i-record, nahanapin ko yung kanta.
Oo, hanapin mo. Tapos, eto naman, yung isa, yung magpuay singat sa Sampaguita. Remember, yung sa Sampaguita, ito yung kanta na kinagigiliwan ni Jose Rizal. Pero itong kantang to, sinulat to ni Dolores Paterno, pero minsan niya lang. Ito lang nag-iisang kantang kinumpos ni Dolores Paterno. At ito, sinulat sa salitang Banyaga, salitang Kastila. Pero Tagalog si Dolores Paterno. Ano? Ngayon, maganda ang pagka-translate nito na Mabuhay Singer. Kung mapapansin ninyo, yung translation ng Mabuhay Singer, hindi ito yung official translation. Kasi yung official, meron pa isa. Pero halos magkapareho. Dito sa translation na ito, dito pinapakita yung paraluman. Yung paraluman, hindi nawawala. Pero nawala siya, namatay siya dahil sa pag-ibig. Dahil sa parang sawi, kakaintay. Pero ang paraluman na to, nangangako na hindi siya mawawala. Kagaya ng pangako ng mutya. At pinakita niya ito sa pamamagitan ng simbolo. At yun ay ang simbolo ng sampagita. Kaya kapag halimbawa nakakita tayo ng sampagita, alalahanin natin yung pag-ibig ng paraluman. Sino ba ito si paraluman? Babalik ngayon tayo dun sa mutya. Kasi may double meaning to eh. Dahil yung kundi man ito, yung paraluman dito sa isang bahagi ay ang inang bayan. Pero bukod dito, sa spirituality, it is telling something about us. Ang mutya sa atin. Dahil ang inang bayan ay kung halimbawa, tayong lahat magkakapit-bisig. Dahil ang inang bayan, hindi representante ng isang tao. Ang inang bayan ay tayong lahat. Diba? So we the people is the inang bayan. Yun nga lang, babae siya. Yung si mutya, babae din eh. Diba? Feminine kasi siguro pagka malapit sa puso natin, nagiging feminine. Kaya inang bayan. So, eto yung pakinggan mo muna. Then, pwede mo na rin isali yung kamay mo. Oops, hindi ito yun. Mutya, sampagita. Narinig mo na yan? Then, sampagita.
Sampagita lang ang himayan,
Walang mago ng buhay. Simple lang pagdalisay ng magsingsita di mamapatay. Ikaw kami ang pagsuyo ng talagang siya ng nangako eh, kalaban. Nangako siya doon sa lumayong ng ibig. At namatay siya, kakaantay sa pagbuha. Tapos mapukumitan tayo sa libingan. Nakita'y halaman. Tumubo ang halaman sa libingan. Sino ang bulaklak? Tayo. Hindi. Sumpa kita ang bahay. Sa bawat tapos pag kinitan siya, bulaklak. Laging nagpupuwitas. Bayan. Ang isang pag-ibig Ang sabi ko kay Milan, at sa pagita, pwede nating i-represent na ganito. Yan, kumbaga, ito yung bubod na sampagita. Pag ano tayo, nagkumintang sa sampagita. Pwede din kumintang, tinuturo natin ang ating sarili. Kasi, ang sampagita din ay tayo. Di ba sabi nga ng mutya? Ang sabi ng mutya, ang kanyang lakas ay nalipat sa atin. Ang inang bayan ay hindi lamang siya abstract. Ang inang bayan ay tayo. Tayong bayan. Di ba? So tayo ang inang bayan. Tayo din ang mutya. Ganun. So, yun yung ngayon ituturo natin sa pamamagitan ng ating sayaw. So, malinaw na ba ito? Anyway, yun na lang. That's your lesson today. Tapos, ito naka-record to. Kaya,
Ay, nakalikod.
oo. Inano natin, tapos
Thank you.
ano natin sa YouTube para ma-share natin. Kasi dahil sa this will be the first time that I am explaining this in public, what Saliw is all about. Saliw is our attempt, renaissance, to a culture that has been long forgotten, to a tradition that has been long forgotten. And hopefully that through us, through our batis ng buhay, we'll be able to inspire young people to tell the stories. Tell all these stories from our heroes, from our ancestors, you know. Hindi natin tinatawag na ancestors at sabi natin, stories ng ating mga bayani. Diba? Kasi sa atin, mas malaki yung tingin natin sa bayani. Kaya halimbawa, imbis na maghari, sabi natin, namamayani na ang kapayapaan. Hindi naghari ang kapayapaan. Kaya sabi natin, namamayani na. Kasi ang concept natin ng isang mabuting tao ay isang bayani. Diba? Kaya pwede natin sabihin na sa pamamagitan ng ating saliw ay kinukwento natin yung mga kwento ng ating mga bayani. Kagaya sila Dolores Paterno, di ba? Sila Jose Rizal, sila Andres Bonifacio. Napanood mo ba yung awit sa Tinubuang Lupa? Panoorin mo yun. Oh, nasa TikTok. Anyway, thank you very much. And to my hello, thank you for your time. Kay CJ, who was here a while ago, and Edwin. So, I'll see you again next week. Okay, Edwin? Yeah.